Okay, yes.
Kuan ma'am kanang matter ma'am is anything that occupies space then naapod siya mass.
Okay, so very basic no when we are asked of matter, so mo should natong i-answer. So anything that occupies space and has mass. Wait, so so everything you see is matter. Okay, so now in this chapter, sorry. Okay, so we have to the components of matter, elements, compounds, and mixtures. So these are the subtopics that we are going to discuss in this chapter. Now, okay, so element. Okay, so how many elements in the periodic table?
118 man ata, ma'am.
Okay, so there are 118 elements in the periodic table. So how many atoms? Okay, so since there are 118 elements, so basically there are also 118 atoms in the periodic table. So an element consists of only one type of atom. Okay, so give me an example of elements.
Oxygen, ma'am.
Oh,
Aluminum, ma'am.
okay.
Hydrogen,
Hydrogen,
ma'am.
ma'am.
All right, elements. Now, the second word is we have a molecule. A molecule is consist of two or more atoms that are chemically bound together and thus behaves as an independent unit. So as you can see here, this is a molecule. So molecule when elements when one or two elements i-combine mo na siya, then it become a molecule. So give me an example of molecule.
Sodium
H2O,
chloride.
ma'am.
Okay, H2O. So H2O is not a molecule. Okay. Now molecule when it has the same atom, the same element. So example, okay, uh fluorine. Fluorine because fluorine is diatomic man siya. So F2. Duha ka F. Okay, so it's a molecule. O2. What else? N2. So they are molecules. Muna siya ha. So element, isara molecule is when we add the two elements or example, if we have sulfur, sulfur is H tsaka buok, no? So S8, so it's a molecule. Now we also have phosphorus.
Ang methane pod, ma'am, CH4.
Okay, so it's a compound. It's a compound na siya. All right, now we have this one. Okay, a compound. Okay, the third is compound. Compound example, we have methane. So there are different. There are different atoms being combined. So methane, ethane, propane. So they are your compounds. Vinegar, H2O. So they are compounds. Now, we also have the fourth is the mixture. Okay, so mixture, it's a mixture of two or more elements. So example, mag fruit salad, no, it's a mixture. Mixture of example, one element and then you add a compound on it. So it's a mixture. So as you can see here in the figure, Lahi-lahi siya. There's element, there's molecule, there's also a compound. So, lahi-lahi siya. It's a mixture. Okay, so example of mixture. Okay, example of mixture. What are the examples of mixture?
Kuan ma'am, kanang water and salt.
Okay, it's a mixture. It's no, but it is aqueous solution. Okay, ihang solvent is water. So it's a mixture. Okay. Okay, so later earning ka Friday maybe mag-give ko quiz about ani. So you identify if it is an element, compound, mixture, or maura. Okay. So we have also this one. Okay, what about letter A? Is it describe each sample as an element, compound, or mixture?
Murag mixture ma'am.
Okay, it's a mixture because there are different compounds and molecules present. We have molecule green, molecule purple, and then we also have kining compound. I think saan ni siya? Masyag water, no? Okay, so it's a mixture. What about letter B?
Elements, ma'am.
Element ma'am.
Letter C.
Compound ma'am.
Bound.
Compound, ma'am.
Okay, it's a compound. Why is it it's not a molecule?
Kuan siya ma'am, kay nganong compound, kay nag-contain sa man siya only one particles. Like
Only
atom.
one? Only one element? Nabe itom.
Particles
Two
ma'am.
or more elements, ma'am.
Compound siya ma'am kaya nag-combine siya or two or more elements siya.
Okay, it's a compound. Letter C. Okay. All right, it's a compound. Okay, so we have, so naabot na mo ni sa inyong inorganic, no? Law of mass conservation. Nabot na mo ani? Can elements, component of matter, law of mass conservation. Wala pa mo kabot ani?
Wala pa ma'am.
Wala pa ma'am.
Okay. All right. So now in every reaction, okay, if all right. So we have reaction A, then you add it to B. So we have example, it's combination reaction equals AB. So the product is AB. Now the mass, okay, the mass in the reactant is always the same to the mass in the product side. Though A and B are, though in the reactant duha siya kabuok, and then in the product nahimo na lang siyang isa, the mass is being conserved. So the total mass on the reactant is the same to the total mass on the product side. So mass before is equal to the mass after. So if example, we have here lead nitrate solution and then we add it with sodium chromate. So that's the mass. We have the mass before. And then so when you mix, okay, when we mix the sodium chromate solution to the lead nitrate. So the mass is still the same. Though it has transformed into another product or another form, the mass is being conserved. Okay. So that is the law of mass conservation. Mass is di siya no more no less. Di siya mapunan no more or di po siya makuhaan. The total mass of substance does not change during chemical reaction. So that is the law of mass conservation, and that applies to most of the chemical reactions because naampod siya uban na exemptions. However, this always applies gid pud ning law of mass conservation. Okay, so we have reactant 1, reactant 2, then it yields a product. So the total mass of reactant 1 and reactant 2 is the same to the product side. So kung unsa man imong pila ka kilo to imong gi-add, mao pud to ang imo ang ma-produce. Okay, we have also, okay. So example, example, we have calcium oxide, okay, calcium oxide, and then we have carbon dioxide. Now the mass of your calcium oxide plus the mass of your CO2, so this is the reactant side, no? Then that will be equal to the mass of your calcium carbonate. So how did we get that one? How did we get 56.08 grams for calcium oxide? Okay, kita ra ba manghuhaan ni sa mass? How did we get 56? Now that is the okay, so mobalik ta dito sa ato ang atomic mass. Okay, so we have calcium oxide. So we have how many elements? Or if we have calcium oxide, how many elements present?
2, ma'am.
2. Okay, so di ba all elements in the periodic table has its mass on mass. So we have, since we have calcium, so ato siya i-add calcium. Ano ni? Calcium atomic. Okay. So in your periodic table, naana siya diri. So we have calcium. Calcium is number 20 in your periodic table and it has a mass of 40.078. So we have 40.078. Then we add up oxygen. So what is the mass of oxygen? We have
16.
okay, we have 16. So plus 16, so that is 50. Okay, that is 56.08 grams. So mo ni siya, mo ni ang mass sa imong calcium oxide. So I believe na kabalo na pud mo manguha og atomic mass sa okay, or mass sa ato ang mga compounds. So you just add the atomic weight of each element. Okay, now we also have carbon dioxide. Now, what is the mass, atomic mass of carbon dioxide? Carbon.
12.012.
Okay, 12.01 plus oxygen, we have 16. Now, how many atoms of oxygen here?
2, ma'am.
2.
2.
Ma'am.
So we multiply 2. So 16 times 2. Now we have, pila siya tanan?
32.
32.
Plus 12. So imong carbon.
44.
44.
44.
Okay, so we have 44.00 grams. So most the atomic mass kay mag-differ na siya sa imo ang kining mga sa significant figures. Example, some will report 44.01 and others will 44.0. So still doon ra ka siya ginagmay ra iyang differ. Now we also have, okay, so when we total this, the mass on the reactant side is equal to 100.80 grams, 56.08 plus 44, 100.08 grams. Okay. Now let's go to the product side. So how did kani siya calcium carbonate? Okay, so pila gal itong calcium? We have 40 no? 0.01.
40.078.
Okay, plus carbon we have 12.01 plus oxygen 16 times 3 because there are 3 atoms of oxygen. So it times ninyo na kaniyang subscript ha. So we have a total of
100.
okay 100.08 grams. Okay, you see the law of mass conservation is being applied here, that the total mass on the reactant is equal to the total mass on the product side. So ano no, just kining dapat makabalo lang mo find sa iyahang for atomic weight sa iyang weight sa iya mo ang compound. So you just add all. Okay. Now, so that is na. Wait. Okay. So the second law. Okay. So the first law again is law of conservation of mass conservation. The mass is being conserved. Now the second law is law of definite or constant composition. So example, the last example we have calcium carbonate. Now what are the elements present in calcium carbonate? What are the elements that compose calcium carbonate?
Calcium, carbon, and oxygen.
Okay, calcium, carbon, and oxygen. All right. So also, no matter what the source of a compound, so there's always a constant composition. So example, we have calcium carbonate. Now, in calcium carbonate, we have calcium, carbon, and then we also have oxygen. Bisan pag-asa na gikan imong calcium carbonate, I mean, bisan pag wala siya gagikan sa imong calcium oxide and then carbon dioxide, or even taas pa kayo siya kaning process o sa siya naabot here, calcium oxide and carbon dioxide to form calcium carbonate, the composition is always the same. It's definite. It will not change. Now, if we have calcium carbonate, 40% of it is the calcium, 12% of it is carbon, and 48% of it is oxygen. How did we get 40% here? Okay. So, by when we have percent no, kung pila imong score, example, kung pila imong score, Jalea 7, asa taman 15. So pila ka percent? Pila ka percent ang score ni Jalea?
50 ma'am, or 50 or 45%. Or
Okay, so all right, so it's 46.7. Okay, 46.7%. So we get percent by the imong score and then the total perfect score. So here also in getting calcium, the percent calcium is the grams of the calcium, okay, the mass of your calcium over the total mass of the sample, over the total. Para sa score, total man na siya over, then times 100%. Okay, so we have the mass of your calcium is pila gali ang calcium?
40 point something.
40
mass, ma'am.
40.01 grams divided by, okay, we know that calcium carbonate, okay, the molecular weight or atomic weight of your calcium carbonate is pila to?
100.
Okay, 100.08 grams. Okay, so 40 grams divided by 100.08 grams times 100, then that will be 40%. Okay, so 40% sa imong calcium carbonate is ang calcium. 40% of the calcium carbonate is calcium. Now, what about the composition of your carbon? Okay. When we ask of composition, you give percent, just like this. 40% of it is calcium, 12% of it is carbon. Okay. So how, unsa man pud nato pag-calculate if you are asked of percent carbon? So the same. Percent carbon is the atomic weight of your carbon. Pila to atomic weight sa carbon?
12.01.
12.01 grams. Then the total mass of your sample, we have 100.08
100.08.
times 100, then that will be 12%. Okay, what about percent oxygen?
16.
16. Now, because there are 3 atoms of oxygen, we multiply it by 3. So 16 times 3, then divided by the total mass of the sample is 100.08. So that is 48%. Okay. So what if I will ask you? So this is definite na ha? This is definite. When we are asked of calcium carbonate, 40% of it is calcium, 12% of it is carbon, and 48% of it is oxygen. Now, what if I will ask you the composition of water? Okay, dili na punta sa water. Ang water is, ano na water? H2O. Okay. So, the composition of water, so na siya hydrogen and then water. So, percent hydrogen is equal to, and percent oxygen is equal to. Okay, unsaon galit to? First is atomic weight sa imuhang hydrogen. O, pila?
1.0081.
Okay, kana 1.01 grams divided by the total. Pila ni siya? H2O. We have kung 1.01
17.
2 man ang duha man ka hydrogen plus 16. So we have
18 point something.
okay, 18.02
8.
grams. So we have this one. Okay. So percent hydrogen is equal to times 2 pa ni kay duha man ni. Okay. Percent hydrogen is wala, pagkuhan mo calculus. Ay, cellphone na lang. Pila? Okay, so we have 11.21% hydrogen. So in water, 11% anak kayo hydrogen. Ang the rest is oxygen. So pilang oxygen? 100 minus 11%. 88.8 dapat. So, okay, pero ito lang yapong ikuan. So, 16.0 grams divided by 18.02 grams times 100. So, is equal to pilang oxygen?
88.80 grams.
77.9.
88.79. Okay. So, ma-check pa din mo yung answer, no? Nga dapat ang imuhang answer is a total of 100%. So sa water, daghan ang imuhang oxygen kaysa sa imuhang hydrogen. Okay, we have. So that is definite na siya. That is definite bisan asa pa nagikan imuhang water. Then 8 mo siya ang ihang composition. 11%, 11.21% is hydrogen and 88.8% is oxygen. So that is the law of definite composition. Okay, so we have, all right. Hala, wait sa class. Okay, mag-charge sa ako.
Ay, ma'am.
Oh,
18 grams.
18.01, ay 02 man nalito.
Wala ka to, ma'am.
Oo.
Saan nga ito siya, ma'am?
Unsa.
I mean, asa gikan nang ba?
Okay. Gi-add rin nimo ang imuhang atomic mass sa imuhang oxygen o atomic mass sa imuhang hydrogen.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, sa periodic table, makita man ninyo na, no? Naamoy periodic table. Diri mo na makita, oh. Kanibe. Kita na ninyo ni. Ay, annotate. Extension. Diri na siya sa ubos class. Diri, oh. Ubos na siya sa symbol na diri ang atomic mass. Pero pag wala mo ikuan, i-search na lang. Magawas din na siya.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Oo.
Kanang nabay ubang periodic table, ma'am, nga, na ang lang atomic weight kay maglahi og kanang singalan mo yun, kanang point.
Ang uban, ilahan na i-round. Ang uban po, dili po. Pero gamay ra kayo siya difference. Ang difference ra na is betan. Katong ganina no, 40.078. Ang katong calcium, ang others kay 40.01. Anara. But mostly good kay ginapataas nila, taas kayo ang significant figures.
Pero ma-consider ra ba, ma'am, if malahi gamay ang point?
Oo.
Sige, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Alright. So we have this one. Okay na no? So we have calculating the mass. Okay, we have problem 2.2. Okay, please read down. We have Risan. Okay, Risan, read problem 2.2. Angeline.
Ria na lang, ma'am.
Okay, Rian.
Yes, ma'am. So the problem is analysis of 84.2 grams of the uranium contained compound pitch blend shows it is composed of 71.4 grams of uranium, With oxygen as the only other element, how many grams of uranium can be obtained from 102 kilograms of pitch blend?
Okay, so we have the analysis. So inigabot ninyo sa inyong analchem, it focuses on the analysis of substances. Pila ka percent ang calcium, pila ka percent ang iron. Yan. Okay, so we have pitch blend. A pitch blend. Okay la. Sa pitch blend. Na. Okay, so mo ni siya pitch blend. So, ang nado niya, it is only composed of uranium and then, ano sa itong isa? The rest is oxygen. Okay. So, ang inakay pitch blend, now in every 84 grams, okay, if we have pitch blend and it is 84.02 grams, na siya, no? In every 84.02 grams, 71.4 grams ana niya uranium. So, ang nabilin, oxygen. Okay, so daghan kay ang uranium no kaysa sa oxygen. Pila ka grams ang uranium? Pila ka grams na lang ang oxygen class? If we have 84.2.
29 point
Pila? 99?
13?
Okay,
okay,
13.
29.52.
Di man, in every 84 man, in every, di man in every 100 grams, in every 84.2. Okay. So, in every 84.2 grams sa uranium, sa pitch blend, na ano siya, 71.4 grams uranium. And then, also, it has 12.8 grams of oxygen. So, muna yung composition no, in grams. Now, okay. Yung question, how many grams of uranium can be obtained from 102 kilograms of pitch blend? Okay, ganina, 84. In every 84 grams na kay 71.4 grams. Now, if in every 102 kilograms na pila man imuhang uranium. Sama natin ni class. So, number, sa'yo na siya ay, pwede na ka magamit og ratio and proportion. 84.2 grams is to 71.4 grams. That is equal to, pila man yung 102 kilograms. Let's convert that into grams. 102 kilograms times 1,000. 102, no? 102,000 grams is to N. No? Mo man ni siya ratio and proportion. Then, mo ni siya i-times diri nga part. And then, 8 times po ni mo ni siya per divide na dahil ni man. Diba? So, 71.4 times 102,000. So, 7,000. Pila ni siya diri is 7,000. 7,282,000. Kani 84.2 times N, so 84.2 N. Now, let's divide na dayon. 77 to 7 million divided by 84.2. Okay, so we have pitch blend. So, imuhang N, which is the uranium, N is equal to 86.49 for 86,000.06 grams, or uranium is equal to 86.494 kilograms. So, mo na siya, no? If we will use ratio and proportion. So, Easy ra kay sayo naman nimo ni siya kuan pwede ra ka mag grade 1 imong solution ani kay in every 84.2 we have 71.4. Now pila pod in every 102. So ratio and proportion imong pwede ka ratio and proportion imong i-apply. Or we can also apply kaning this one. Wait sa no problem ato kaganina. Nagets ra to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it's just ratio and proportion. Or we can use this method na usually mao siya ni ginagamit sa chem. Okay. So we have since 102 kilograms, so gamiton na to na siya una. We have 100, 102 kilograms man siya into grams. I-convert na to into grams. So we have peach blend. Peach blend ni siya, no? Times. Now, in order for us makancel ng peach blend, dapat peach blend pud sa ubos. So we have 84.2 grams peach blend, and every 84.2 grams peach blend, pila ka grams of uranium present?
71.4, ma'am.
We have 71.4 grams uranium. Unya, di ba, uranium atong gipangita. So, you can cancel peach blend. So, that is equal to, kamo daw,
Kuan,
102
ma'am. 86.5 kilogram uranium, ma'am.
grams ata. Grams pa man
Okay,
na
ma'am.
tumakaan ni.
Aw.
102,000 times 71.4 divided by 84.2. We have 86,494.06 grams uranium. So, or may nabili yung uranium, or we can convert this into kilograms, which is 86.494 kilograms uranium. Pwede pa siya mo siya 86, imong i-report 86.5. Okay. So, easy ra nino. Asa mas easy ninyo? Kaning solution or kaning ratio and proportion?
Katong ikado na solusyon.
Okay. So, mo ito
Okay,
ginagamit sa chem.
Radiation portion.
Ratio and proportion, okay. Pang elementary, sa elementary, kuha na nato. Okay. So, na yung solution. Okay. So, easy. All right. Now, unsa pa galito tong first law?
Law of mass conservation.
Mass conservation. Second law is
Law of
Law
definition.
of definite or constant composition.
okay. So we also have okay. So those are the two laws. Now we have the third law also. So if elements A and B, okay, if we have two elements now to form two compounds, okay, so they're going to form two compounds. The different masses of B that combined with fixed mass of A can be expressed as a ratio or a small whole number. Okay. So we have a law of multiple proportions. So multiple daghan, no? Mag-differ na din siya. Okay, if we have element, okay, example, we have carbon monoxide or carbon oxide 1. So how many elements present?
2, ma'am.
So we have carbon and then we have oxygen also.
Oxygen.
So the composition, the percent composition is 57.1% of of oxygen is present in carbon oxide. Then while 42.9% of it is carbon. Okay. So no problem. Yun sa ni pagkuha ng percent, 57.1%. Okay. First is in carbon oxide, we have percent oxygen is equal to 16.16.0 to no? Divided by, kani, pila ni siya total. Okay. Plus 12 is equal to, di ba ang carbon 12.01 plus 16, pila siya?
28.
28. Okay, so divided by 28. So percent oxygen is equal to
51.12, ma'am.
51, 57.
57.14.
0.12 for ako ah. Okay, so percent oxygen is 57.12%. Now what about percent carbon? Percent carbon is pila atomic weight sa carbon?
12.
0.01.
Pila?
48.84.
48, 28.01 man na siya.
28.
12.01. Balik ka doon ninyo.
42.9.
42 point 42.29. Ay, 42.8 of 40.9%. Okay, so ginanaan niya pagkuha, no? Now, we have that one. If we have this compound, we have carbon, and then we have oxygen. So carbon monoxide. Now, so percent oxygen is 57.12%. Carbon is 42.9. Now, what if we go to carbon oxide 2 or carbon dioxide? So we have two compounds, two elements present, but in this case, we have two atoms of oxygen. Now, let's get percent oxygen also. Percent oxygen is equal to 16.01 times 2 because there are two atoms of oxygen divided by the total atomic weight of carbon dioxide is equal to, ilan ni siya? Total ano niya? 16 times 2 plus carbon na 12. So that is equal to 16 times 2 plus 12.01.
44,
44.
ma'am. 0.01.
44.01 grams. So we will divide 44.01 grams times 100. So that is percent oxygen is pila?
72.7.
72.7%. What about percent carbon? Percent carbon is the same thing, no? 12 divided by 44.01. So that is 27.3%.
27.3.
Okay. Now, you see, class, uh, in carbon oxide, the composition is definite na siya. We have percent oxygen is 57.12 and percent carbon is 42.9. But there's this law of multiple proportions also says na Though uh, the oxygen has fixed mass, but when you react that to other compounds also forming new compound, so the percent oxygen may differ. So multiple na din siya. In this case, in carbon oxide, percent oxygen is 57.12. Now, in carbon oxide also, in carbon dioxide na, percent oxygen is 72.7. So it's not fixed. So in this case also, in compound 1, carbon is 42.9. Now, abot po din niya, carbon is also 27.3%. So, multiple proportions. So, maglahi-lahi siya, maglahi-lahi imuhang proportions, maglahi-lahi mo ang percent carbon, percent oxygen, depende sa imuang compound. Though in carbon dioxide fixed na po definite composition na jud na siya nga percent oxygen is 72.7 and then ang imuhang carbon 27.3. Now multiple proportions nga maglahi-lahi ba dili siya maparehas in the same compound. Percent oxygen, percent carbon may differ in different compounds. Okay ra? So, in order for you nga makita dyan nimo if it is really applied, so you need you need at least two compounds for you to compare. Okay. Now we have this one. Wala. Okay. Okay, itong law of definite composition na gets ra ay multiple proportion na percent oxygen is different to other compounds, to different compounds also. Percent fluorine, percent nitrogen is different to different compounds. Now we have percent nitrogen in ammonia would be different to percent nitrogen in ammonium. So like siya, multiple proportions. But still, isa mo isa ka compound, law of definite composition is still apply. Okay, so we have, okay ra, nalibog pa ni, multiple proportion, ang imong gikuan na percent oxygen, if you compare, lahi sila. So, multiple. Nigabot na pud na,
Nawala si ma'am guys, no?
Nawala.
hello.
Ay ma'am.
Ganina ra ko nawala.
Taod-taod.
Taod-taod. Asa ko ni
Tiyot-tiyot,
Hunong?
ma'am.
Ah, Nagtabi-tabi pa ko, nawala na day ko. Bantugan ako, no? Wad yun mo tubag, no problem. No problem. Nawala na siya. Nara. Okay, so nasabtan na ang multiple proportions. Okay,
Yes.
multiple proportions. Okay. Okay, so maglahi-lahi no, ang percent oxygen is different to different compounds. Like this one, in carbon monoxide, percent oxygen is 57.12. Now in carbon dioxide, it's 72.7. In percent carbon is also different. So there's multiple.
Lagi.
Okay. Okay na, lagi. Alright. So we have Dalton's atomic theory. Okay, so familiar na mo ani na topic na sa INARG.
Wala, ma'am.
All matter consists of atoms. Atoms are tiny indivisible particles. So kana di na siya mapagamay no, di na siya ma-divide because gamatoy na kaayo that cannot be created nor destroyed. Atoms of one element cannot be converted into another element. So if we have oxygen, then we cannot convert oxygen into fluorine. So atoms of an element are identical in mass and other properties are different from atoms of any other element. Okay, so have different masses but sila. Then we have compound resulted from the chemical combination of specific ratio of atoms of different elements, also law of multiple proportions. Okay, so we also have the first law, mass conservations. Atoms cannot be created or destroyed. It cannot be converted in other types of atoms. So we have its postulate 2. Here, postulate 2. Since every atom has fixed mass, postulate 3. Okay, read that one. Okay, so all right. Now, here in this problem, okay, as you can see, there are two figures. So explain how, okay, so this is reactant and this is the product. So explain how the definite composition, law of definite composition is being applied. Okay. How is definite composition, law of definite composition applied? Rachel! Okay, Alona.
Okay, ma'am. So, try. So, sa formero, ma'am, kanang na siya 7 bitaw na purple. Dayon na po siya 9 green atoms. Then, ang vote nila, ma'am, before and after, nagwan sila og reaction. So, ang mass nila, ma'am, nag-conserve siya, ma'am.
Oh, okay. So, akong question is definite composition. Law of definite composition is being applied. How is it being applied? Okay, so thank you, Alona. So, ang katong ka, Alona, ganin na answer, it's on the mass conservation, no? So, we have same number of purple, okay, purple, and then green. Then, pag-abot sa product side, so the same gihapon, so it is being conserved. Now, what about the definite composition? Rian. How is the law of definite composition being applied here?
So the law of definite composition applied in this figure is that um, the different, I mean the different elements are combined in, or I mean elements form more than compound, more than one compounds in different compound, ma'am. So it is also, so the element also is fixed with different masses, and yeah, that's all, ma'am.
Okay, so definite composition being applied. So in reactant side, it is composed of element purple and element green. Now on the product side also, the it is also composed of element green and element purple. Definite composition. The same raihang composition. And then as you take also a look, the same repudihang number of purple, number of purple. So but okay, ang composition ani na applied kay is on the same raba, same element ra gihapon ang present. Now we have purple and green in reactant side, and in product side we also have purple and green. Now what about multiple proportions? How is it being applied in this illustration? Multiple proportions. Okay, multiple proportions. Yes, Angeline.
So, based akong nakuhanan ma'am kay kuan kanang ang law sa multiple proportion ma'am kay kanang bisag two elements ma'am mag-combine siya ma'am, so ang ma-form niya is kuan more than one compound o to siya ma'am.
Multiple proportions, di ba? Ganina kay ang multiple proportions kay ang percent oxygen is different to percent oxygen in different compounds. So ganina carbon dioxide lahi ang yung percent oxygen sa imuhang carbon monoxide. So it's multiple, lahi-lahi gid siya, daghan kaayo. Now in this case, dili na to siya makita ang law of multiple proportions, no? Because dapat nato i-compare in this kaganina na compare nato ang carbon monoxide o carbon dioxide. So makita nato nga multiple jud kay even ang oxygen or ihang carbon it's different to other compound, but here only one is given. So di kay nato siya ma-deduce, di kay nato makita if it is being applied. So in this case, only mass of conservation and definite composition is klaro. Multiple proportions is dili kay siya klaro. Okay, only one. All right, we have here only one compound forms, so the law of multiple proportions does not pertain. So here, some purple atoms remain unreacted, but some have combined with green atoms to form compound. Each particle of the compound contains one purple and two green atoms. The composition is constant. Okay, so constant in proportions. All right, so that's it. That's for the three laws, the basic law of chemical reaction. So, sa galito, nawala na ako. Unsa galito mga basic laws we have?
Law of definite
Mas
composition.
Law of conservation of mass.
definite.
Okay, law of multiple proportions. Okay. So, this one, ako na siya hatag sa inyo ha, for you to read. Nindot unta no na group reporting. First group, cathode rays, millicans. Okay. The third group is scattering Rutherford. Pwede. Okay, group yourselves into three tulo. Tulo mo ka grupo. So first group will report this cathode ray. Second group Millikan. And then this one, Rutherford. Okay, it's more on the history of on the discovery of atoms. Okay, so or nucleus. So ano ka siya interesting. So kamo mag-report mo maybe tag 3 minutes lang. Okay. So ako mag-divide ko ninyo ha, ihatag na ko ang groupings. Okay, then you report next meeting. Okay. Okay ra?
Ah, yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Okay, wait sa. Okay, so we have the general features of atoms. Okay, so in an atom, okay, what are the three subatomic particles in an atom? Three subatomic particles. What are the three subatomic particles?
Murag kuan maguro ma'am katong proton, neutron, electron. Oh.
Okay, so we have protons, neutrons, and electrons. Okay, wait. So kinsay positive. What is proton?
Positive siya, ma'am.
Okay, so it's the positively charged or
Positive
positive
charge.
charge. Then we have also the neutron. Neutron is positive, negative.
No, wala sa electric charge.
Okay, no charge. That's one neutral or neutron. Then we also
No
have
electric charge.
okay, electrons.
Negative, ma'am.
Okay, negative charge. So if this is your atom, okay, if this is your atom, now where does okay, so here is the nucleus. Nucleus is at the center. Okay, the center. So in the nucleus, what can we find in the nucleus?
Proton and neutron, ma'am.
Okay, we have the protons and neutrons inside the nucleus. Then what about the electrons? Where does the electrons reside?
Outside of nucleus, ma'am.
Okay, outside the or around the nucleus. Okay, so atom is electrically neutral. Spherical entity composed of positively charged central nucleus surrounded by one or more neck charge. Okay. So we have here also the subatomic particles. We have proton, it's the positive charge. So it has positive one, and since ano dili na to sulat ang 1 since it's given na, so P plus only. And then we also have electrons, negative 1 iya ang relative charge. Now, what about the masses? Kinsa ang pinakabugat nilang tulo?
Murag sa
Okay.
electron, ma'am.
Electron,
Neutron, ma'am.
Neutron.
Neutron, ma'am.
1.67 for what? Okay. All right. So we have neutron. So again, so location is at the nucleus. Then we have electrons outside the nucleus. Okay, so Kabla naman na. Alright. Now we have also atomic symbol, number, and masses. Now, if you are going to take a look in your periodic table in ano siya, no? We have X, that's the symbol of your element, and then A is the mass number or atomic mass. So we have kato ganina. For example, if we have oxygen, so katong 16. So it's the mass. Okay, 16. And then the atomic number is your Z. Now, your periodic table is arranged in monotional atomic number. Now, atomic number is the also the number of protons. Okay, it's also the number of protons in your element in your atom. Okay, if you have magnesium, how many protons present in magnesium? Magnesium. Nara ang magnesium class. Yung atomic number is 12. Ika number 12 siya class. Atomic number 12. So meaning how many number of protons also?
12 pod, ma'am.
Okay, 12 points.
12 po.
Because again, they are arranged according to the
12,
number of
ma'am.
protons. Okay, now what about ano na, chlorine? How many numbers of protons present?
17.
What is the atomic number?
17, ma'am.
How
17.
many electrons? How many electrons?
17 po, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So what about I know cesium? How many number of protons?
55,
Sa tong
Cesium
55, ma'am.
55. 55. Electrons.
55 good, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So now let's go to the mass number. Okay. So if we have okay, the mass number is the sum of your number of protons and then the number of neutrons. Okay, let's go back. Na. Okay, so if we have magnesium, okay, how many, okay, what is the atomic mass of magnesium?
24.
Pila? Magnesium ha, magnesium. Atomic number 12. Number 12 siya. Okay, so atomic mass or mass of your magnesium is, we have
4 point.
okay, 24.305. So how many protons?
12.
How many
12, ma'am.
neutrons?
12? Neutron, ma'am?
12. Yes. Okay, so 12 no, gi-minus rani mo. What about, niya tatag kaning lahi daw? Uranium. What about uranium? How many number of neutrons?
238.028.
How many neutrons? Okay, how many neutrons in uranium?
92.
That's the number of protons, 92.
146.
143, ma'am.
143.
Yun sa ninyo. Ay, 143?
184, ma'am.
Yun
Yes,
sa.
ma'am. 143.
Yun sa man. Yun sa nimo pagkuha.
146 siguro, ma'am.
Galing oh.
146.
6.
143, ma'am.
Mm, it's 146. Giminus ra na siya, guys.
92.
Ay, okay, 1,
Mass minus the number of proton.
oo. The number of protons is the atomic number. So, kato ganina 92. Okay, so nato to ha, we have, okay, A is equal to Z plus N. Alright. So, maghatag po ko question, ana. Alright, now we have another definition. We have isotopes. Isotopes are atoms of an element with the same number of protons but different number of neutrons. Okay, so we have here, we have uranium. So uranium 235. Okay, how many protons, electrons, and then how many neutrons? Then for uranium 238, okay, how many protons, electrons, and then we have neutrons. Okay, sige. Kani, how many number of protons in 235? Uranium
92, ma'am.
92, electrons,
92 po,
92
ma'am.
Japon, ma'am.
neutron,
143, ma'am.
143.
140.
143. Ah, kato ganina di ay yung gitanaw ganito is uranium 235.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. Now we also have this one, uranium 238.
92 ang proton. 92.
92 ang
146.
proton, ma'am. Then ang electron, 92. Then ang neutron, 146.
Okay. So as you can see, um, uranium has an isotope. So duha siya. We can have uranium 235, the same proton, but a different number of neutrons. 143 ang isang, isa pod 146. So there are elements that exist in isotopes. Daghan pud kay list of isotopes present. Like example also we have carbon 12. Carbon 12. Then we have carbon 14 also. And carbon 13. Non 13. Okay. So in carbon 12, how many protons and how many neutrons?
6 ang protons, ma'am.
6 pod ang electron, then 6 pod ang neutron.
Okay. What about carbon 14? Carbon 14.
6 ang protons. 8
Okay.
ang
So,
neutrons.
so they are isotopes, the same number of proton but different number of neutrons. So there are many kayo nga isotopes. So uh, we have also gali aluminum. Basta daghan sila. Okay, so basta different or same number of protons, different numbers of neutrons, they are isotopes. Okay, now here, oh, we also have silicon. We have silicon 28, silicon 29, and silicon 30. So you can now determine, no, just read that one, how many protons and how many electrons. Okay. Now, also, we also have isotope silver. Okay. So the mass of silver is, we have silver 107, silver 109. Now, the mass, silver, kani silang silver 107 has different mass and silver 109 is different mass. Now, in the periodic table, ang atong silver is, wait, mass of silver, Ag, is 107.87. Okay, 107.87. So, can we determine that is it silver 107 or 109? Mao man ni ang report sa periodic table 107.87. Yun sa man siya nga. Ang silver 107 kay 106, ang isa po 108. Now, ang pag-report sa periodic table is ano siya, the weighted average on the two isotopes. So, the mass of these isotopes, example, if we have 107, 106.90, 509, you multiply that one to the abundance. Okay, abundance meaning unsa siya asay mas daghan sa ilaang duha. Okay, so it's weighted average mo na siya, weighted average 51.84 or 0.5184. So pila ni siya, 100 106.9509.
5,541.99.
Say 5.0 times
Ay, laro.
0.5184. So that is 55.42. Then what about this one? Silver 109. So you multiply the mass and then the abundance. So that is equal to 108.9476 times 0.4816. So that is 52.45.
0.45, ma'am.
So a total, then a total nimo siya, that is
7.87.
100.87 siya. 107.87. Okay, so mao na din na siyang gi-report sa ato ang periodic table. So, kato mga isotopes, like carbon, uranium, silicon. So, it is, weighted average yung pag-calculate, pag-report. Okay. We have 107.87. Okay. All right, now we have here the periodic table. I guess you are now very familiar with your periodic table. So we have the main group, we have the metals, and then we have the non-metals, transition metals, and then we have inner transition metals. Okay, so what about krypton? Unsa siya? Is it metal, metalloids, non-metal, transition metal? Krypton. Krypton, atomic number 36.
No, non-metals.
Non-metal. Okay. What about cobalt?
Metal siya, ma'am.
Metal. What type of metal?
Transition, ma'am.
Transition metals. Okay. Lithium.
Metal siya, ma'am. Then main group.
Okay. So it's metal. Alright, so inana na siya, no? Aluminum. What about aluminum?
Metals gyapon ma'am din may.
Oh, aluminum. Oo. Si astatine.
Metalloids ma'am.
Metalloid.
Semi-metals. So, it can behave metals at the same time. It can also behave non-metals. Okay, so we have ano daw siya? For each of the following, give the name, the symbol. Okay, Z equals 27. Unsa ni siya? Letter C. Z equals 27. Okay, unsa ni siya nga element? Give the name, the group, the period. Okay. And classify it as a main group metal, transition, inner non-metal. Okay. Z equals 27. Z equals 27. Unsa siya?
Bulk. Bulk ma'am.
Okay. Cobalt.
Cobalt.
All right. Now, what about the group? Group.
Group 8B.
Group 8B, period.
4 ma'am.
Okay. Alright, period 4. Okay, non-metal or metal?
Metals ma'am tapos transition.
Alright, okay. So, kabalo na dira.
Metal.
Okay. Umano na to in chapter 1 ha. Alright, we have also the formation of ionic compound transferring. Okay, when we say ionic, okay, ionic, it involves transfer of electrons from one atom of one element to the other. Example, if we have Na, then we have Cl. Okay. So, in order for Cl to become stable, so it must bond to Na, and that will only happen by transferring the electrons of Na to Cl. Tadang! Okay. So ang Cl may mukuha sa electrons sa imong Na because it is stronger than your sodium. So if that's the case, if fuaon jud niya, if it involves transfer of electrons, then the compound to be formed is ionic. Okay, ionic. Now, if it's only sharing, then it's covalent compound. Okay, covalent compound are your organic compounds. Your organic compounds are ano siya, covalent ilang attraction. It only involves sharing. Sama. Class, ay hello, na-enroll na mo tanan? Officially enrolled na ba daw tanan? Kinsay
Yes,
wala?
ma'am.
Tanan na
Yes
jud?
ma'am.
O sige ha,
Na-enroll na, ma'am.
magbutang ko dito not officially enrolled. Na-enroll na daw sila pero napa mo absent ani Ralph? Oh, imo nang unsa day iyang i-add? Na sila Astro Earth Science? Oh. Unya, murag wa man sila na namoy astro og science. And sa to astro og earth science.
Na, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Naman.
Ay na. Jud mo. Oh, balik balik na lang Ralph. Bye-bye. Okay. Sige, mag-utang sa ako dire sa inyong kuan ha. Ipang katong not officially enrolled gyud, not officially enrolled. Kay naay mo sulod sa inyong ano black nga course. Not niya dili pa sudlon pa daan hangtod di pa mo makaon na ma-enroll tanan. Namoy classmate na kuan first year. Ay butangan pa dinig 1 2 3. Copy. Naoy. Feeling ako ulay kuan. Okay na. Sige. Sige, magsulat mo dito ha. Alright, hapit na ta. Pasensya na ako eh. Okay, so now also you review your periodic trends. So electronegativity, the electron affinity, ionization. Okay, you review that one. So because the attraction increases as the charge increases, also the attraction decreases as the size increases. Okay, we have that one. Now here is the charges. So makabalo na mo sa mga charges, no? Kabalo na mo sa mga charges sa ato ang mga elements. Hello. Okay. So here we know that okay. In your periodic table, ngano man galing mo react ang isa ka element? Ano kinahanglan niya mo bond to other elements? Because para ma-achieve niya para mahimo siyang stable. Napa mo?
Ayos, ma'am. Labang, ma'am.
Hello? Oh, napa. So we have that one. Elements combine or bond to each other for them to become stable. Now, the most desirable, sa periodic table, the most desirable jud na state is that they are going to achieve is the noble gases. Here, the noble gases are very stable. Mas stable na ni sila class stable. Now, example, your lithium it has a charge of +1 because again, metals loses electrons to become stable or to achieve the octet rule. So, kaning lithium mo pagawa siya og electron isa para mahimo siya sa ihang roommate na neon. Okay. Ma-achieve niya ma-achieve niya ang stability just like neon. Okay. So that's why metal loses. So when it lose, what will happen? So okay, we have 3 electrons in your lithium. Now, kuhaan niya og isa ka electron, what will happen? Mahimo na lang 2 electrons. Now, the charge will become more positive or what will happen? Mahimo siyang positive or negative? Ang charges. Because, di ba, the same amount, the same number of protons, we have also 3, then Since nakuhaan man og nag-lose yung isa ka electrons, we are left with 2 electrons and 3 protons. So that's why na when it loses electrons, mahimo siyang positive lithium na siya charge na positive 1. Positive because mas dominant ang imo ang positive charges kaysa sa imo ang negative charge. Kay nig-lose ba ya siya gisa ka electron so mahimo siyang positive. That's why all of these mga elements in the first row has a positive 1 charge. So they must lose 1 electron to become stable. Okay, what about the second row? How many electrons do they need to lose in order for them to become stable, just like the noble gases? Okay, pila yung i-lose? So, 1, dayon, 2 na po din dire. 2. So, it needs to lose 2 electrons. So, that's why mahimo siyang charge niya is positive 2. What about fluorine? So they are metals. Now what about, let's go to non-metals. Non-metals gain electrons. Now, kung mag-gain siya og electrons, what will happen to the charge? The charge will become positive or negative?
Negative, ma'am.
Negative, ma'am.
Mas mudaghan kay ni-gain man siya og
Negative, ma'am.
electrons noon, mas ni-gain siya og daghang electrons, so man negative na noon siya. Mas dominant ang negative na charge kaysa sa positive charge. So, okay, we have fluorine. So, ang fluorine, how many electrons does it need to gain para mahimo siyang stable? Tara man ihang ko ano, mura na ihang roommate.
1, ma'am.
1. Okay, so all of
Negative
the
1, ma'am.
Okay, so negative 1 iyahang charges. What about oxygen?
Negative 2.
1, 2. Okay, negative 2. What about nitrogen?
3.
Negative 3.
What about kani? Asa siya? Metal man ni siya, class. Metal group pa siya.
Positive
So,
3, ma'am.
Positive.
Positive 3.
Okay, what about carbon?
Positive 4.
Negative. Negative 4. Okay, so mao na siya ang mga charges ha. Masayo na noon siya. Okay. So first group, positive 1, group 2, positive 2, group 3, positive 3, group 7, negative 1, okay, negative 2, and then negative 3. So metals loses electron. When it lose electrons, so mas dominant iya ang positive charges. So mahimo nun siyang positive. Noon, imbis bali na noon siya no, imbis mag-lose na noon ka, ma-positive noon ka. Okay. Imbis mag-gain, mahimo na noon ka negative. So, pero ang story behind ana, ang explanation is mas dominant imong protons so mas dominant imong electrons. Okay. So we have that charges. Don't forget the charges. Okay, so pag ano po di ay example of these ions is ano na siya, di na ibutang ang negative 1 or di na ibutang ang 1, given na siya. Just write negative or positive. Okay. Species in a row have the same number of electrons. Okay, so because they are arranged maganda sa periodic table, mostly the behavior of the first period sa katong pinakababaw or the behavior of the rows kay the same. The same na sila. Then sa second row na po, the same po nila mga behavior. Third row. All right. Now we have here predict the monoatomic ion formed by each of the following. Okay, when we say ions, okay, so we have elements, no? We have element iodine, calcium, aluminum. But when it is already charged, example, fluorine. So fluorine basa na to na. But if you put a charge, then it becomes an ion. Ion are the charged particles. So positive or negative H plus, it becomes an ion. Okay. So ion can charge particles. So have positive or negative. Now, when you read that one, it becomes fluorine ion. Okay, fluorine ion. Okay, so we have this one. Predict the monatomic by each of the following elements. Okay, iodine. Okay, what is the charge of iodine? Iodine.
Negative, ma'am.
Negative.
-1.
Okay, right, I minus. Okay, what about calcium?
Positive 2, ma'am.
Positive 2. What about
Positive.
phosphorus? Phosphorus. Phosphorus. Phosphorus atomic number.
-3.
Okay, so it means that it needs to gain 3 electrons to become stable. And to have the same number of electrons as, okay, and to have the same number of electrons as, just like AR. Ano ang AR?
Argon, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So we have that one. Now again, formation of covalent bond between two atoms. When we say covalent, it involves sharing. Sharing. So ganina is ionic, so it involves transfer. So sharing. Now, for molecules to really combine or to really react, it must it dapat ano siya, proper orientation and then proper distance. Okay, just like this one, if atoms are very far from each others, then there will be no interaction. Now, if it's too close, just like this one, okay, if too close, na inani po ang imong orientation, ang orientation is mas dikit ang imong electrons, negative, then it will repel. Or if baliktad na po, positive, then it will still repel. So, dapat proper orientation gid siya na mas magduo lang imong negative and then we have positive for it to really bond. Now, covalent bonds, okay, covalent bonds mostly occurs to nonmetals and nonmetals, just like HCl. Is it covalent or ionic bond? HCl. So, nonmetals lang daw siya class. If we have H, is H nonmetal or metal?
Non-metal, ma'am.
What about Cl?
Non-metal po, ma'am.
Okay. What about if I have, okay, CH4 OH metals? What are the bonds or bond that is present here? Covalent or ionic bonding?
Covalent gyapon, ma'am.
Covalent because non-metals. What about if I have a salt?
Ionic, ma'am.
Okay, ionic. Alright, tara ni siya sa inyo inorganic, no? Nani siya sa inorganic ninyo? No.
Nara, ma'am, pero wala may gidiscussion na ma'am.
Okay. We have here the molecules. Okay, basic unit of molecular element. Okay. Or covalent compound consists of two or more atoms bonded by sharing. Then we have also ions, charged particles. Okay. Now we also have here again, they are molecules like H2. Okay, because they are diatomic mga goodness siya class. When we have oxygen, it exists as O2. We have N2. They are diatomic molecules. Pero katuuban na lithium, they are single monoatomic or sila monatomic. Lithium, beryllium din rin, no? Okay. Then we also have this one. Your sulfur is still a molecule because this one, S8, it's octatomic molecule, and your phosphorus is tetratomic. Silicon and selenium, duha ka buok octatomic. And then there are 8 ka diatomic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or class. 7 sa diatomic molecules. Diatomic meaning duha. Okay. All right, now let's go to ions. Still, it's ions now because there are two types of ions. We have monatomic ions, just like F, monatomic. F, okay, negative. We have Cl minus, H plus. We have calcium 2 plus. It's monatomic. Now, if we have if two different elements being combined, then it is charged, then it is called polyatomic. Polyatomic ions. Okay, so polyatomic ions. We have NHCO carbonate, we have NH4 plus, then we also have acetate C2H3O2 minus. So it's polyatomic. So the two different elements being combined. Okay. All right, now let's go to naming. So let's go to naming binary ionic compounds. Okay. So in naming binary ionic compounds, it's important that you know the names of your ions. Okay, we also have two types of ions. If we have an ion that is positive, we call it cations, and then if ions na negative, we call them anions. Okay, we have example of your ions are cations are this one. Now, okay, now you take a look at the charges. Is it the same sa katong ganina sa periodic table? We have Mg. Okay, Mg2 plus. Okay. Then we also have sodium. N plus ay Na plus positive 1 na ang sodium. Okay. So that's it. Ano siya? The charges is the charges ani nila diri sa imong mga cations still the same to the charges nga katong makita na to sa imong periodic table. Okay. So, dapat no ka-memorize mo ani, makamao mo ani in order for you to really name. Memorize man naman ni sa una. Then we have also anions. The mostly of them are non-metals. Non-metals because they gain electrons, that's why they become anions, negative. Kani sila, they loses electrons. Electrons. That's why may siyang positive. Okay, so don't forget that one. Now, when you name an ion, example, this one, if it the same, okay, the same ang imong pag-name sa imong cation, but ang imong anion, you change, you add the suffix IDE. Example, fluorine, fluoride. Chlorine, chloride. Okay, that's how you name. Okay, example here. Okay, name the ionic compound formed from each of the following pairs of elements. We have magnesium. Okay, we have magnesium and nitrogen. So, pilay charge sa magnesium? Magnesium.
Positive.
Positive 2.
Okay, so you also take note when you write, when you write, yali, apilo na ninyo ihang charges. Then we have nitrogen. Ang nitrogen, pilay charge?
Negative 3.
Negative 3, ma'am.
Negative 3. Okay, now, when we name this one, if we have this one, okay, we change the anions only, retain the cation, then the anion change or the suffix IDE. Okay. Now, what about letter B? In letter B, iodine and cadmium. Who is the cation and who is the anion between the two? Okay, ang anions mostly are negative na siya, and then they are nonmetals. Cations, they are metals. Okay, iodine. Is it
Ano siya,
cation?
ma'am?
Ha?
Anions, ma'am. Ang iodine.
Ion. Okay. Cadmium.
Cations, ma'am.
Cat. Okay. So, when you name the two into one, we call it what's that?
Cadmium iodide.
Perfect. Okay. So, IDE rangi mo i-change an ion na po. Okay. Letter C. Strontium. SR and fluorine. Ha? Cation.
Cation.
Strontium, ma'am.
Cation.
An ion. An ion.
Ang fluorine.
Fluorine. Okay. When you name
Strontium
the
fluoride.
compound. Okay, so that's how you name it. All right. Now, this time we are going to write na pod. We are going to write the formula. Okay. When we write the formula again, letter A, so we have magnesium 2 plus, and then we have nitrogen 3 plus. Okay, so Mg 2 plus, and then N3. So when we write the formula, sorry. So, imo siya isulat, and then we will do cross multiplication. So that ang 2, mahimo ang 3 nimo diri sa imong nitrogen, Mg3, munaog siya. Mobalhin sa Mg, but nani siya sa subscript na siya class. And then we have N, 2. So, magnesium nitride. Letter B. What is letter B? Iodine and cadmium. Iodine. I minus. Cadmium. Cadmium. What's man ang cadmium?
Positive, ma'am.
Positive. Ay, naranda ko. Wow. Cadmium, atomic number. CD. Wait. Asang kuan? Positive siya, no? Cad. daw class, cadmium. Pangitabi, tabangi ko.
Kanang CD, ma'am, 48.
48. Tara, 48. Now, in cadmium, for the transition metals, mag-different na dayon ang imuhang charges here. Because, like chromium 2 plus, and then we also have chromium 3 plus, 3 plus. Maglahi-lahi siya class, dili siya kaning pero dili pareha siya sa group 1, group 2 nga. Ang group 1, positive 1 tanan. Ang group 2, positive 2 tanan. When we go to transition metals, different na siya. Okay. Ngita taon sa nga cadmium. Cadmium. Sindhapod ni charge. Okay. Charge niya. Positive 2. Okay. Positive 2 daw. Ang cadmium. Okay. Positive 2. So, let's write. Nara. Okay. So we have CD2 plus. Okay. So negative and then 2 plus. So cross multiply. Pero unahon po na to ang kuano. Unahon should ang cation. So CD I2. Okay. What about letter C? Letter C. Sige, strontium. Strontium. SR. Sige, the charge of strontium is
Positive,
38.
ma'am.
Positive.
Positive
Okay, strontium is SR2
2.
plus. Then fluorine, F minus, cross multiply. We have SRF2.
F2.
Okay, ang 1 dili na ninyo isulat ha. Ayaw na isulat, di na ibutang diri. No na. Given na siya. Okay, so inana na siya class. Okay. So, now again, let's go to some metals that form more than one monatomic ion. Okay, so most of these metals, chromium, cobalt, copper, lead, so mauni ang katong nasa transition metals, no? So we have chromium, we have 2 plus or chromium 3 plus or chromium 2, chromium 3. Or for other common name, ang katong taas og number or charge, we add O's, and then like ang katong lower og charge we add O's, and then higher charge ik. Like just like your mercury, we have mercury 1, mercurous, then we have mercury 2, mercuric. Now the kini bitaw mga Roman numerals class mao na siyang ihang charges. Like example for iron 3. Iron 3 is iron 3 plus. Cobalt 2 is cobalt 2 plus. Okay. Now, for common name, we have ferrous for katong lower charge and ferric for higher charge. Okay. So just be familiar with this also. Okay. Especially if mag-quiz ta or mag-exam ta on naming. Okay. So let's name. Okay. So we have tin fluoride. Now we are going to, in this case, letter A, tin fluoride, we are going to write the formula, chemical formula. So tin fluoride, isang tin? Tin, sa to? Tin 2. So we have tin 2 is
SN.
okay, SN2 plus. Then the fluoride is
F.
minus. Okay, then cross multiply. Okay, SNF2. All right, here. Then what about this one? How do we name this one?
Chromium.
Chromium. Unsa siya nga chromium? Ang chromium, we have 3 and then we have 2. Now, take note, tara nibalhin ra ang 3. So, it is chromium.
Chromium
Chromium.
3, ma'am.
Then we have iodide. Oh, iodide, no? Okay. Or we can, okay, so that's when you use the systematic naming. Or we can, chromium 3 man, chromic, we can name it as chromic iodide. Okay, no need na ibutang ni siya. 3 kay ang chromium 3 is equal to chromic man pod. So, pwede ra siya. So, ini-exam, ay, ikuan lang nga rin ako kung unsang gamiton. Systematic or common name ba ang gamiton. Okay, ferric oxide. Oh, ferric oxide. Ferric. What is ferric? Ferric.
Iron 3,
Iron
ma'am.
3.
Okay, Fe3 plus, then oxide. O. Pila charge sa oxygen? 2 minus. Okay, 2 minus. Okay, cross multiply. Fe.
2O3, ma'am.
Okay. Alright. Okay, so kabalo na ha. Then letter, okay, let's go na. Or, now for oxaline ions, when we say oxaline ions, it has oxygen in it. So if we have 4 oxygen, okay, example of this, inyo dyan siyang be familiar with this, good ha? This one, we call this as perchlorate. Then for oxygen, nga tulo ka bulk, still the suffix is 8, but you name it chlorate. Kung na I 4, per na siya, per. Okay, this one is O2, chloride, then O minus, so it means that oxygen deficient siya. So, gamay rin yung oxygen, we call it hypochlorite. Okay, for 1 oxygen, 1 and 2, the ending is "ite". Then for 3 to 4, 8, imuhang suffix. And then, just take note of the prefix lang. Kung 1, hypo. Then kung 4, per. Okay? Be familiar with this lang. Okay, hapit na ta class, hapit na. Mama na chapter 1. Then also we have for prefixes, if we have mono, okay, for 1. If di, C2, tri, P3, okay. Tetra, 8, O8, okay. Alright. So, take note also of the prefixes. So, later, inig-ato ta sa alkanes and alkanes, magamit po niya siya nga prefixes. Okay. So, we have this one. Let's name. Give the systematic name for each of the following formula. Okay. Systematic, no? Katong ay 1, 2, 3. Or katong 1, 2. Ana, systematic. Kay katong ferric, ferrous, ano man to common name. Okay, we have this one, Fe. Unsa ni siya class? Ibalik na po nato siya, was kago na to ipagamay. So have Fe. Unsay charge sa Fe here?
Positive, ma'am.
Positive?
3, ma'am.
2.
3?
Ito,
Oh.
ma'am.
Then what about Cl? O. 4. Unsay charge? Negative ra. Kaya nagbalhin niya. Okay. So, di ba, ini cross multiply ani. Okay. Fe, then parenthesis, ClO4, ClO4, 2. Wala na ni siya. Okay. Nga na parenthesis because this whole thing, kanina sulod sa parenthesis, is ano siya, polyatomic ion. It's an anion, di ba? Negative man ni ClO4 minus. Unsa ni siyang ClO4 minus? Unsa na siya?
Hypochlorite.
ClO4 minus.
Perchlorate.
It's perchlorate. Okay, so perchlorate siya, and then we have ang Fe2 plus, unsa na siya? Common name?
Iron 3, ma'am.
2, ragali, ang charge. O iron 2.
Ferrous. Ang ferrous ay ang common name, ma'am.
O, common name. Systematic name man daw ang ipangayra. So we have iron 2. Perchlorate. Okay, perchlorate. Okay, letter B. Sodium sulfite. Ang formula po ni siya, sodium sulfite. Sodium. Formula sa sodium.
Na, ma'am.
Charge.
Negative. Ay, positive.
Positive 1 ra.
Positive 1.
Sulfite. Unsa ang sulfite? Oh, mangita tag sulfite. Sulfur na siya. Okay, we have also here sulfite. Unsa formula sa sulfite? An ion siya.
NO3 negative.
Nitrite man nalina.
SO
Sulfite.
4.
SO3. 2 minus. Okay. We have SO3. Ay, 2 minus. Okay. Wait sa. 2 minus. Okay, cross multiply. Sodium. Then, parenthesis ha, ug daghan siya polyatomic para di kay malibog. Especially SO3. Then the 2, manhidrino kay cross multiply. Or since wala naman siya kaning subscript here, we can delete the parenthesis. So Na2SO3. Sodium sulfite. Okay. What about letter C? Unsay name may ani? Then we have 8. Sige. What's the name sa letter C? Ba. 2 plus. Unsa ng Ba? Barium. Hello?
Barium.
Okay.
Barium hydroxide, ma'am.
Okay, barium hydroxide. What about okay, ang duha, barium hydroxide kani?
Octahydrate.
Ang 8. Octa.
Octahydrate.
Ang H2O is hydrate. Octahydrate. Hydrate. Okay, hydrate. Okay, so that is barium hydroxide, octahydrate. Okay. Yay! Hapit na gid ta class. Hapit na jud. Okay. How to spot mga fake, mga wrong. Okay. Number 1, letter A. Is it correct? Barium. Kani daw. Barium. Then C2H3O2. Unsa ni C2H3O2? Asa ta mangita ni class? Unsay pangalan ani? Balik na punta sa list of anions. Okay. C2H3O2. Unsay ngalan ato? Asa ta ani mangita? Mangita daw unsay name. Daghan pa mo? 15. Okay. Sige, C2H3O2. Unsa ni siya? Kani daw, acetate daw siya. Try daw natin acetate. Acetate ni siya. Pila kas, pareha rin silang duha. Kani o kini. Parihara? Same?
Parihara, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Parihara. How many?
Pareha, ma'am.
2 carbon, H2 3H2 oxygen. Okay, so pareha siya. So it is called acetate. Okay, acetate.
Acetate.
Kani daw, ang tawag ani barium diacetate. Sakto?
Dili, ma'am.
Dili. Kaya unsa dapat?
Barium
Acetate.
acetate.
Barium acetate. Okay, okay. Di, di ba? Di is when we put two, tapad should ang two. Ganina sa okta. Ganina. Okay. What about letter B? Correct or wrong? Sodium. Sure ko nga Na na siya. Sulfide. Mangita na po sulfide. Sulfide, sulfide. Ay, sulfide. Unsa ang sulfur? Unsa ang sulfur? Sulfide. Kani S.
S4.
Yung charge. 1, 2. S2, no? S2. S2. Okay. Sodium sulfide. Ang then kani daw siyang formula. Sakto dili. Unsa din ni? SO3
Sulfate.
minus sulfate. Sulfate?
Sulfate.
Sulfite, ma'am.
Sulfide.
Sulfite, ma'am.
Okay, when we say sulfide, okay, katulad na, pwede fluoride, iodide, okay, sulfide, S na siya, S2, 2 minus. Okay, so metabo is NaS, Na2S. Okay, so correct ang letter B, wrong.
Wrong, ma'am.
Okay,
Wrong, ma'am.
letter C, iron sulfate, sulfate.
Sa
Iron
Yes,
2. Iron 2. So, 2 jud yung charge. So, nagbaliktad sa S. Ang sulfate kay SO4 2 minus. Okay, so we have SO4 2 minus. Okay, cross multiply. What will happen is Fe 2SO4 2. What dito mo na storyahan when it has the same charge bitaw, like this one, 2, 2, pwede siya pwede siya ma-cancel kay ma-reduce man siya, dapat pinaka-simple. So, pwede rin mo siya ma-delete. Kay the same man sila. Pwede rin siya i-simplify siya. So, when we have iron 2 sulfate, it is this one. Okay. Sakto ang letter C, wrong.
Wrong, ma'am.
Okay, wrong. Because dapat iron 3 ni siya. Iron 3 para kay 3 man na dire. Okay. So, ina to no? Okay na. Kabada na. Okay. Hapit na jud. Hapit na jud. Hapit na jud. Okay, binary acids. Okay, for binary acids, so we add hydro, and then for prefix, and then ic, then acid. Okay, like this one for HCl, hydrochloric acid. Okay, so this one, baliktad dire. This one is an acid derivative. Okay, so example, letter A, HBr. How do we name this?
Hydrobromic acid.
Bromic acid. Okay. What about letter B? Unsa ning IO3 minus? IO3 minus. Let's find. IO3 minus. IO3. Wala lagi. IO3.
CiO3 siya.
Ha?
Murag wala man guro IO3, ma'am. CiO3 no.
Iodide daw. Iodide ang IO2 minus. So, iodate. Iodate. IO3. Amanda be. Asa to? Okay, iodate. Iodate, IO3 minus. Okay, iodate, IO3 minus. Now, this is for mono lang siya, no? Mono, kitong isa lang. Monoatomic acid derivative. Now, for this one, it's no poly. So, if that's the case, we will add this one, or for oxo acids, when we say oxo acid, we have oxygen on it. So, the oxon ion, we prefix add hypo and per are retained. Okay. Hypo, then per. Then also, if we have iodite, we had O's. If example, ITE becomes O's. Wala makita pa. Then AT becomes ick. Okay. AT becomes ick. Now, this one, letter B is iodate, di ba? Iodate. So, we add, okay, so this one is we just add ick acid. Ick acid. Okay, ick acid. Okay. Then we also have this one. Letter D. Letter D is sulfate. Sulfide.
Sulfate, ma'am.
Okay, sulfate. So we name this as sulfate. Ang ATE, we change it to an ick. Okay. We name as sulfuric acid. What about letter E? Nitrite. Ang nitrite, ITE, we change it to O's. So it become nitrous acid. Okay? So ano na lang ha, you review. Okay pa? Okay, question balik. Sige, wala kay gets. Okay. Kenny, letter B is iodate man siya, iodate. Now, if, di ba natin iodate and iodite? If ITE ang mag-end siya, so imuhang buhaton is O's. So, mahimo siyang iodose acid. Just like nitrite, nitrous acid. But if it is 8 sulfate, iodate, so we add ick acid, sulfuric, iodic. Okay? Okay, this one, letter A. Letter B, unsay name sa letter B? Or kaning letter A sa carbon, what is the formula? Hello? Naapa ko? Hello? Nawala na ko no.
Naapa, ma'am.
Nara ka, ma'am.
Okay. Paning kay ko kay. Ang ako mong cellphone, 10% na lang. Dayon, naki-hotspot ra ko sa akong cellphone. Babe, tanaw na ko eh. Uy, 9% na lang. Mawala ra jud mo kalit. Mawala ra ko kalit ron. Pero hapit na tamhuman. Murag wala na po yung net dire. Letter A. What is the formula for carbon disulfide? So, carbon sulfide. S. 2 mano. Cross multiply. C2S. Or, no. Diretso na. Carbon. So, 1 carbon. And then the disulfide, 2. S2. Diretso na ta class. So CS2. Kani B, what is the name for this? Letter B. P. Unsa galing P?
Phosphorus.
Phosphorus. 5 ka Cl.
Pentachloride, ma'am.
Fluoride.
Okay. The name of the components will consist of 2N. Okay, 2N. 2N. So 2. And 4 oxygen atoms. Okay, kani. And duha ka, when we have 2,
Nitrogen.
sa
Dinitrogen.
nitrogen, tetra.
Tetraoxide.
Tetraoxide.
Okay, very good. Okay, alright. Now, kani. Okay, spot the wrong. Okay. Letter B. Correct? C2ClO6. Dichlorine. Sakto?
Wrong, ma'am.
Wrong, ma'am.
Say wrong.
Kay heptaban siya, ma'am. 6 ra ang kuan, ma'am.
Hexa dapat.
Okay, letter A.
Wrong, ma'am.
Say wrong.
Penta siya, ma'am.
Penta. What
Dap-
else may
dapat
wrong?
Dili na needed ang mono.
Okay. Siya sa
Dapat.
pinakauna siya, pinakauna. Alright. Kani,
Pangalan sa nitrogen, ma'am.
dinitrogen trioxide. Okay. Alright. So we have naming straight chain alkanes. So we have hydrocarbons. So what is the composition of hydrocarbons? What's the composition of hydrocarbons?
Hydrogen and carbon.
then
Okay,
Hydrogen
so
atom.
CH. So this, kanino, mo ni siya makita jud nato sa organic chemistry. Hydrocarbon. So C ug H na lang yun ito makita dito. Og oxygen, napoy oxygen, gamay. Then napoy sulfur, napoy nitrogen. Maura jud ni sila halos tanan makita nato sa organic chem. Okay, we also have alkanes. Simplest type of hydrocarbon. So when we say alkanes, single bond ra siya. Single bond like C, okay, ethane, H, okay. So single bond, this is an alkane. But if double bond na siya, mahimo na siya alkene. Mahimo na siya, alkene. But if triple bond, so ano na po siya, triple bond, mahimo na siyang Y. Okay, alkyne. Okay, so we have alkanes are name using a root ane. So kaganina we are using ite, os, ik, eight. But inigabot sa mga alkanes, alkynes, kanina imong gamiton. Ane, in, ine. Okay. Then also, example, we have methane, ethane, propane, butane. So, naa siya sa org-chem. Hapit na jud to jud, honest yun. Okay, we also have this one for H2O molecule. The molecular mass, gani, we get molecular mass using the atomic mass. Then the number of atoms also, since there are two times 1.01. Then we also have oxygen, since 1 oxygen, so 1 times 16. Okay, plus. All right, so we have 18.02 AMU, atomic mass unit. Okay, natura siya, no? Okay, also, using per calculate the molecular formula mass. Oh, okay, formula mass. When we say this one, tetraphosphorus sulfide, so tetra, phosphorus, tetra. So 4.
S
S
four
3, no?
S
Try.
four S three.
Alright. So when we get the formula or molecular mass, so we have 4 times, bilang phosphorus?
30.27.
30.97. Okay, plus 30.97. So, i-plus na po nimo. Tulo ka sulfur. 3 times sulfur. 32 daw class. Okay. Grams or AMU, pwede, is equal to 0.0 AMU. Pero pag i-identify gid na ko nga AMU po gamiton ninyo. Okay, so we have 220. Okay, so kabalura no. Okay na. Kabalura ani. Now if I ask ammonium sulfate, unsa man ang ammonium? NH4. Asa man ko nakikita ng NH4 ng ammonium na diri ay sa cation. List of cations. Okay, tara oh. NH4. Asa to? Nitrate. Unsa ang nitrate? NO kani plasa man NO NO4 3 NO3 minus
3
o
ma'am.
ni okay, cross multiply 1 1 raman siya, no need to write. Okay, so NH4 NO3. Okay, then 2 times kay duha ka nitrogen, then upat ka hydrogen, 3 oxygen atoms. Okay, so kabalo na. Okay ra? Hello? Pwede ra?
Ma'am.
Kabalo ra?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ha?
Yes, ma'am.
Practice ra ha? Practice. Ihatag na ko ng PowerPoint. Aron mag-quiz na din ta. Okay na ni. Alright. Okay, so we have models. Okay, ball and stick, space filling. Makita na to ni siya as we go along the way. Okay, linear. Kani Lewis. Kani formula chud. Okay. So we have also mixtures. Okay, mixtures can be homogeneous, heterogeneous. Then homogeneous mixture can also be called solution, just like your salt solution. Then we can also have aqueous. When we say aqueous, kato ganinang salt, when the imong solvent gamit is water. Solution pero ang imong solvent is water. Because we can have other solvents also. We can use alcohol as solvent. We can use vinegar. So that's not aqueous solution anymore. That's a solution only. Pero kung aqueous, water jud imong gamit. Okay, then we also have separation techniques. Okay, so we are very familiar with filtration. I-filter nimo. Crystallization is example if we have a liquid and then himuon nato siya into crystals para ma-separate imo ang para na kay mahimo
Wala ka, ma'am.
distillation. Hello. Hello, 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 hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Nako. Okay, so this is distillation. Okay, this is distillation technique. Okay, so if naagid tay laboratory no, naamo jud tay laboratory. If real lab gyud kay we can distill or we can separate. Pwede siya lemon, pwede kining lemon bitaw, the oil, essential oil from lemons, pwede na to na ibutang na to ang lemons dari. Panit sa lemon, sito, okay, pabukalan na itong ayo. And then, mo evaporate man na siya. Pero, because, normal yung monitored imong temperature, and then this one is your condenser. Instead kay mag-imbes evaporate siya, mawala siya, but because there's a condenser, so ang katong imuhang gas, it will turn again into liquid. Now, turn into liquid, so mao na din na siya imo magawas diri. So nigawas ang imuhang oil sa imuhang lemon C2, essential oil na diri. Or we can also do kaning red horse. Mag i-separate nimong alcohol sa red horse o kaning water. Oh. So pabukalan nimong red horse diri, hala, imong i-boil. Boil. But ano ha, temperature is monitored, and then it will evaporate. Kaya mo evaporate, mentioned na. And then, because kay close po diri, so muagi siya diri. Muagi siya diri. But because it is very cold, cold man na siya, so it will, the water vapor or the alcohol vapor will condense, mahimo siya liquid, and then munaog din siya di ari sa imong flask. So, now, naa na kay alcohol, and then your water is out. Naa sa imong balde or planggana or unsa. So, that is distillation. No, nindot na kayo na. Then, we also have chromatography. We can also do, ano po, paper chromatography, kay ano man ni Chachod, mas high-tech. In chromatography, it's on solubility. Solubility is very important because tong mga mag kung ano, mas dapat siya kung less soluble o more soluble pa siya, mas hinay mo dagan o dapat kusong mo dagan. So, ma-separate rin gyapon siya if we have paper chromatography. Okay, so, charang, naapa ko.
Napa, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
so we
ma'am.
are done in lesson 1. So we still have ano mga 5 chapters no atong i-review para we will ato na jud dito sa atong kuan. Alkanes, may nato na organic chemistry, then we go on to reactions na dayon. Maura siya. Maura to. So we are done in lesson 2, lesson 1. That's on chapter 1, then magkuha na po ko. Lahi na po nga lesson. Natay klase ugma?
Wala, ma'am.
Wala tay klase?
TTH mo
Wala,
subjects ama,
ma'am.
ma'am.
38 ka, ma'am. 8
PTH
to
po.
9:30, 9 to 11, ma'am.
Unya akong laboratory.
Tuesday and Thursday ra ang schedule sa imo sa mua, ma'am.
Ay. Na, sama na oy. Sure ba? Wala day kay Friday ninyo.
Wala, ma'am.
Wala, ma'am.
Sige, check ra na kung balik ha. Okay. So that's all for today. Ali, magkuhan sa ta picture sa ta. Sige, open cam. Kay first, ano man siya, first class. Okay, yung review ha. Review pa man po itong atong gibuhat ganina. Review lang to ninyo so I can give you a quiz on that. Quiz or exam. Sana all. Sige, please. Sige, open ka, Angeline. Ayan na. Si Ernie, si John Lloyd, si Kenneth, si Justin. Sige na, ano na, open ka na. Guys, first, ano ba yun? Okay na itong lesson. Sunod na. Alone na. Mahal na buhay ko. Ano, finding.
Dili.
Okay. Si Ernie. Si Alona. Alona, sige na. 1. Chan Lloyd. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Alona. Smile. Ay, ala. Oh, sakto ra.
Ga-open ka man ko mamaya ako.
Oh, wait sa. Isa pa. Pachot lang. Mag-quiz na ta ha. Ay, dili sa eh. Ay, mag-exam ta ko. Mag-exam ta 5 chapters. Ang sulod. Wait sa. Kaya ko sa i-paste. Kani o. BS Ed. Asa to? Tara. Okay, isa. Sige. Waki na po. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Waki! Alam ba, ayaw na lang sa isa balik. balik. So, sige, 1, 2, 3. Waki ha, waki. Okay. Ala, new. Na naghang. Diba? Ay, sakto di ay. Okay. Thank you so much ha. Bye-bye ninyo. God bless. Napa may next class? Bye-bye. Thank you for attending. Sunod po. Okay, next chapter.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Sige, pag-review na lang mo ha. Kay paspas kay to ganina.